Hello and welcome to the Pre-Chiro podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Glass, and today we have a Pro-Chiro Connection with Dr. Jean Guy. I'm super excited to have these conversations that are meaningful for you, the chiropractic student, or the prospective student who's just trying to better understand the path to becoming a chiropractor by gaining insights from these conversations. So Dr. Jean Guy, can you give us a little background on your life experience before you decided you wanted to become a chiropractor and maybe what that shift was for you?
Uh, well, this is quite a story there, but I'll just maybe give you a little bit of. I grew up in Montreal, Canada, and I grew up on a farm. I have four siblings at a young age. As soon as I got two sisters that are older than me. When my first sister was born, my sister was diagnosed with asthma, and as a result of that, my mother, 55 years ago, took my sister to the chiropractor. And this is all this entire story started that my mom, as a result of that, 55 years ago, started to take the entire family to the chiropractor, which was kind of unusual at the time. And first started for not a musculoskeletal problem, but a breathing problem. And I've been under chiropractic care my entire life. I'm going to be 50 years old in a few months from now. And as a result of this experience, I ended up playing hockey for about 15 years of my life. And without chiropractic, I don't think I would have made it through, to be honest with you. And at I was about maybe 16, 17 years old. My chiropractor asked me if, what I would do in my life. And at the time I was heading to, college to study to become a physical education teacher. And then he asked me the question, is like, well, what about being a chiropractor? And to be honest with you, even though I've been under chiropractic care all my life, never thought that, this could be possibilities. And then after further discussion there and him mentoring me after going to college there to study physical education, I ended up going to Life University in Atlanta, Georgia back in 1996, not speaking the language, looking up every single word in the dictionary the first 6 months of my life at Life University, and then becoming a chiropractor and coming back here to Michigan, marry a chiropractor, married into a family of 30 chiropractors. Our daughter is a chiropractor. We have another one that will be a chiropractor. And it's been an amazing journey ever since. It's going to be close to, 20 some years now in practice. And it's been truly amazing and a blessing to be able to do what we do here.
Mm-hmm. I often like to hear a little more depth and detail of what your childhood, maybe your teenage years were like. You said you were a hockey player, you were a younger sibling, you were in a family that was engaging with chiropractic. Can you kind of talk more about how that upbringing and that life experience led to your journey of becoming a chiropractor, how that actually served you in the kind of later years after you had gone to chiropractic school? I'm just curious if you could see some connections there, maybe being an athlete or maybe being in connection with other people your whole life.
Yeah, well, there's five kids in our family. I'm the middle child. I got two brothers and two sisters. My two sisters are older. My father passed away when I was 8 years old. And at the time, we had a farm about 150 acres or so. We grew vegetables. And, um, it was kind of an interesting journey. I was the first one in my family to go to college. And then my mother had the wisdom to sign us up to play hockey there at a young age when my father passed away. And this was all like one, story after another, as far as being involved with, the sports, being involved with, getting regular chiropractic care. My mother having the wisdom to do that, to keep us going. And, we've never been part of, my mom was really like, to be honest with you, she's 75 years old now. She was way ahead of her time at the time, still to this day, not taking any medication, getting up 5 o'clock in the morning, going on her walk for a couple hours, and then watching her show, and then going to work. Still to this day, she was really ahead of her time. She was not big into medication. She understood that the body has the ability to heal itself. She had this understanding and the wisdom, and to be able to transfer that into us at a young age, and then for us to be able to be involved with sports And then looking back, that I don't think I would have been able to make it through if I would not have had a chiropractor on my side to keep me going from prevention of injury to when I had injury to take care of me post injury to make sure that I was performing to the best of my ability. And within our family to have this mindset, and starting with my mother at the time, to just know that your body was designed to heal itself, that we probably that there's probably a better way, or at least something to look into first before you get to the drug and surgeries, that that your body has the ability to heal itself, and to be able to be the best of the best, right, throughout your life. There's sometimes that there's people that they just get by every day, but they just don't know what they don't know. When you don't feel good, or when you're not at your best, you just don't know that there's something different. And once you start experiencing that, then it just becomes a game changer in your life. And that was really a game changer for me. And that's the reason why growing on the farm, growing vegetables, we were not on a cattle farm, but it was a vegetable farm. Having this entire experience of health and wellness from food, which I ended up getting a degree in nutrition as well, and then becoming a chiropractor, and then starting a master's degree. But at the time, my wife says, "Well, enough studying. You need to go. We need to get to work now." And but this entire journey of understanding about health and wellness and being involved into all of those things from the time that I grew up, and getting out there and in every season for the planting, for the harvest, for understanding that your body was designed to be healthy if you take care of it, and there's different ways of doing this. And chiropractic was really the model, the philosophy, the understanding of like how a person can be healthy, how you can learn about the body, and how you can honor that throughout a lifetime. And this led us to not only having 5 kids, but having 2 kids at home, married. My wife already had 3 kids at the time, but then having 2 more children and delivering those kids. And it was really like a journey of like connecting all those things together, and to be able to honor the body the way it was designed to work.
Hmm. Hmm. Can you reflect back on your experience at Life University? I know it was a long time ago, but what do you take away, or what would you like to share with students that are either about to go in, or students that are currently active there, as maybe advice? Or can you maybe actually just reflect on which direction you took? Who were your mentors, or what were some things that you really went deep in, and really uh, studied at a deeper level?
Well, my journey at Life University was really an amazing journey. For a lot of different reasons. Number one, I couldn't speak the language when I was there. Just to not to repeat myself here, but it was an important part. Initially, I had a great desire, to be the best that I could be, and I just want you know, to learn everything. So if I had to look back when I talk to my daughter now, and there's over 45 people that have either worked at my office, or being an intern, or of some sort, that have become chiropractors over the past 20 years. So our office has been truly like a mentorship program for people to be inspired to become chiropractors. And if I had to do it all over again, I would go back to Life University in a heartbeat. And that's what I tell people for a lot of different reasons. I'll give you a few of them. Uh, Number one is the ability to be exposed to a lot of different things, to be exposed that some of the best in the profession will go to Life University for seminars, for teaching. And if you don't get it at Life University, people go to Atlanta, Georgia to teach, uh, different chiropractic technique. They will teach about, the art, the science of, and the philosophy of chiropractic. So, to me, it was very valuable to be able to get the entire package of having this understanding and being the best doctor that you can be by the time you graduate. So for me, it was something important, and that's something that if I had to start all over again, right there on campus, you have the ability to be exposed to different technique. There's different clubs. There's different area that you can have, that you can develop an expertise in. Life University also have programs that, if you don't want to go into chiropractic, this is a university. They have undergrad program, they have master's program, but the philosophy and the mentality of those programs has to do with, health and wellness, which in many places you will not find that. So, and even at the time, this was really, this was the heart of Life Universities, to be able to teach that to students. And for me, I kind of took this direction of going to clubs, and I've been part of many clubs, but um, I ended up being interested into chiropractic biophysics. This is one of my expertise. Chiropractic biophysics is one of the technique in chiropractic that has the most research behind it. I think as we're speaking right now, there's over 260, maybe more papers in the medical literature about chiropractic biophysics. And this is something that was attracting to me, to have to be part of something that we would continuously look at science and how we can continue to address what we do and the application of what we do, and how can we improve on what we do based on what we know today. And there's many things that have changed over the past 20 years, but knowing that you can be part of something that will adapt over time. I do believe that some of the greatest people in chiropractic, like BJ Palmer and Clarence Gonstead, and some of those people that when we were on campus back in the days, Fred Barge was on campus, and some of those people that have done great for chiropractic, that if they were still be here today, they would look into this research, they would look into all of what we have available, how we can make it better, and how can we improve on what is being delivered to the people and to our patient every day. And to me, that was very attractive, and that's one of the reasons why I'm part of chiropractic biophysics, and supporting them, and being on this journey to be able to be the best version of yourself that you can be as a doctor, to help people and change people's lives. So life was, to circle back to your question, life was attractive to me, and it's still attractive today because of the ability to be exposed to a lot of different things, because there's many different ways of many different interests that people can have, whether it's neurology, whether it's nutrition, whether it's pediatrics, whether it's the elderly, and how you care for those people, and how you can develop an expertise that's going to be above and beyond, being around the people that have the know-how. I remember that when I was in chiropractic school, Dr. Webster, which is, there's a technique called the Webster breach technique that, people do today around this country, that can turn a baby within, a matter of a visit or two, or sometimes three, which is completely amazing. But, this man was a teacher of mine, and I cannot be ever so grateful for what I've learned from him, right? So the ability to be exposed to those people, and the ability to be the best version of yourself when you invest into your education, to know that you're going to get the best of the best.
Hmm. Hmm. Can you expand a little bit more on chiropractic biophysics? What this area of study involves for the student? What are some of the seminars that is expected of you to attend? What's the practice look like of biophysics? How does it really approach people if you're becoming a chiropractor and you want to study CBP or biophysics? How would you get started, maybe? Or what are some of the topics that you should expect to study?
So chiropractic biophysics is really a technique that, looks at a person's posture, at a person's x-rays, look at the biomechanic of the body and how the body works, how you are in a gravity environment, and how does that relate to your nervous system. And if a person is not mechanically sound in a gravity environment, how it's going to be affecting, health and disease when it's all said and done. So having an interest for biomechanic, and then making the connection between the biomechanic and the nervous system, and connecting those two together, that if you're not mechanically sound in a gravity environment, you will not be able to be the best version of yourself that you can. So Dr. Don Arison was a chiropractor, but he was also a mechanical engineer. He had a PhD in math, and he was really one of the first at looking at the body as a whole, and looking at a person's posture, and understanding how we can change posture, how you can change structure, because structure determines function. And then once you have this understanding, how you can apply this to the human body, and as a result of the application of this technique to correct the spine, to correct the posture, you can improve a person's nervous system. And as a result of that, you can pretty much if you improve the nervous system, then you can improve the body's ability to heal itself, and you can improve performance. If a person were to have an injury, they will be able to heal faster, because if you're more mechanically sound and gravity environment, you're going to heal faster, and then you can perform better, and then you can even be proactive into this whole thing, that you can be, the application of it is endless in terms of preventing injury, to have peak performance at all time. And then if a person was to have, any issues, like we see our patient every day, it doesn't matter who they are, whether they're kids, whether they're adults, whether, you have the elderly, how that you can improve a person's posture, you can improve a person's spine and nervous system, and ultimately improving their health to a level that, those people never thought that it would be possible. So, to me, this is not the only thing that is being done in our office. Oftentimes people ask a question, well, you do CBP, you do chiropractic biophysics. Is that the only thing that you do in your office? The answer is no. Chiropractic biophysics will be the application of it, will be once you start improving a person's pain or dysfunction for whatever reason they come to the office, after the first 2 to 4 weeks in the office, then you will apply chiropractic biophysics for, it's a system of analysis to improve posture and spine, and then to improve a person's health and nervous system ultimately.
Hmm. Can you kind of deepen or just go right through that of the first 2 to 4 weeks if you're not applying the biophysics to the people that you take care of? How are you starting with people? How are you orienting them to the care? And then what does that include? What does that entail? The X-ray, the traction. What does that entail to take care of somebody from this lens or through this lens?
Well, the way that it's being done is when a patient comes to the office, the first thing that we want to do is the evaluation is done the same on every patient that comes in. We'll do a, chiropractic neurological evaluation. We're going to take pictures of their posture. We're going to take x-rays of their spine. And then once we gather all the information, then they're going to start their first course of care, which will be what we call the relief care or acute care, which usually will take 2 to 4 weeks. And the way that this will be delivered, this can be done in different ways. In chiropractic, we have different technique from, it can be diversify, it can be Thompson. Those are all different technique. It can be activator, it can be, whatever people will choose to do in chiropractic, as you already know, but maybe our viewer don't. There's several technique. There's dozens of them, and those techniques have different purpose. So the goal initially will be to improve, a person's function, a person's disability, pain, and once we improve their pain, then after that we move into the next step of, like, not only we want you to feel better, but now we want to be correcting the underlying cause of the problem. And then we're transitioning into the chiropractic biophysics, which now we're still going to do some what we call postural adjustments. We're going to do postural traction and postural exercises, meaning that we're going to do whatever we see in their posture, and x-rays, we're going to do the opposite. It's going to be mirror image. And we're going to do that with the spine itself, with the bony structure. And then we also going to do that with the muscles. That's why we do exercise. And then we do traction. That's for the ligaments. And then we apply that through a course of corrective care that we will see them 3 times a week. And we will do that for a period of 90 days. This is what the research is supporting at this point. There's dozens of randomized control trial that's been done in chiropractic biophysics on the application of the technique. And when we do this application, then after the course of those 90 days of 36 visit, then we will redo another x-rays, and we're going to do another postural evaluation of that patient to see where they're at. And based on what we see, then we will make further clinical decision of, like, what needs to be done, of what's clinically appropriate for that patient. So some of those people, after a course of corrective care of 3 months, they might be done as far as doing corrective care. Some of them might need to do another course of corrective care until we get to maximum change into their spine and structure. And then after that, we can move into, the person can discontinue care, or they could continue on a supportive type care basis, meaning that for long term, we can continue seeing them, not necessarily to continue change our spine if we believe that we reach a maximum changes, but then we can maintain that. Just like a person would be taking their braces off and then they wear a retainer because we want to stabilize it to make sure that your teeth are not going to get crooked again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In 2022, you said you have kids that are becoming chiropractors or that have already become chiropractors. How is life different for them as you see it? You've obviously been in practice over 20 years. What's your perspective on how your kids as young chiropractors are maybe entering into clinic or maybe entering into school and adapting how their life has been? Obviously, they'll answer it better than you, but just from your perspective, because this conversation is potentially for kids or people that are the same age as your kids. So I'm just curious if you've given them any advice or what are some of the challenges that you see them facing and how they're adapting if anything comes to you.
There's this is a great question. There's two things that comes to my mind when you ask this question. Number one is you have to become a great communicator. I think this is vital today that you deal with this thing in practice called people. And, every person that comes in, they all have a story. And as they're coming in, they all have different reaction. They all have different suffering that they're going through, that they've been through. And you got to be able to connect with people. You got to be able to build rapport with people. You got to be able to engage them and finding out, the reason why they're here today, what's their greatest struggle, what's preventing them from doing. And if you can connect with people and become a great communicator, this is half the battle to be a great doctor, not just in chiropractic, but in any field. So, my conversation with my daughter right now is you have to be able to communicate. This is like first on the list of building rapport with people, connecting with people. There's a lot of people who have great knowledge. They have, they know a lot. But if you can't connect with people at the end of the day and you can't share your message of what you have for them, they're never going to know that you can help them. So that would be the first thing that I would communicate to people that are interested into going to chiropractic school is like, if there's one emphasis that you should put all your mights into is to be able to communicate and connect and build rapport with people. And then number two, to be able to sell. I know people don't like the word selling, but I'm going to use this word here so you can, and I'm going to explain what that means. You have to be able to sell their value back to the person that is in front of you. So we're entering into a time right now that, in this country, in the United States of America, that some people have insurance, some people don't have any health insurance, some people have some insurance. You have all kinds of different situations that people are in. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, if you are in the business of helping people, the chances are that whatever insurance a person has is not going to be enough to get them to where they need to be to truly experience health. And if you cannot share, if you cannot sell their value back to them of what's valuable to them, they will not going to be willing to invest into what you have for them. And I do believe that this is one of the greatest skills that you can develop is to be able to sell their value back of what's important to them, of why would they do that. And if I can give you an example, and I'm sure that you can probably relate to that, but people don't buy because they have like a bad spine. People buy because of what I have for them can give them back their life of what they can't do right now. It could be like playing with their kids on the ground, or they could be traveling with their spouse, or it could be spending time with their friends that they can't do because they don't have their health. So if you cannot communicate that to them and sell them back their values of what's important to them, and I like to call it your why, then it's not going to be fun in practice because you always going to believe in your heart that there's more for them, but they're not willing to buy that because you haven't been able to communicate that and to sell that back to them. It's called their values of what's important to them. So those are probably the two greatest things for me, that if I was to start all over, today, the number one thing that I want to do as fast as possible is to communicate better. It's to be on a quest to be a great communicator. And number two is also to be on a quest of understanding how you can sell a person's value back of what's important to them, so you can truly give them the care that they deserve. And I think that oftentimes it's being missed because we take the path of the easy path of like, well, we're just going to be working on, getting them to feel better a little bit, and then because of XYZ reason, because either they don't want to pay for it or their insurance don't pay for it, that they're just going to move on. And we know that it's going to come back. We know that they're not at their full potential. So how can we communicate that to them so they can get the life that they truly deserve? Because when one person is sick in the family, who else is that affecting? It's affecting everybody, right? So having this understanding that if you go into this chiropractic lifestyle, and having the excitement to know that there's more for people, then you also have to be able to communicate that, and they have to see the value, and they have to be willing. When I have our huddle in the morning, I tell people that, I tell our team, I said, we want to attract people that are willing to travel the distance, to pay the price, to invest in their health, to do whatever it takes to get their health back. Because if you were to ask any group of people, it doesn't matter if you're 20 years old or 15 years old or 55 years old, say, do you think that we live in a healthy country? Everybody, with no hesitation, they're going to say, no, we don't. And us in chiropractic, as you know, we have an answer for people. We have an answer for their health and wellness, and for them not only to live their life, but to thrive, for the rest of their life. And that's really where my heart is to give people their life back, and for them to be the best version of themselves that they can be, because they deserve more. But if you can't communicate that to them and sell those values back to them, then it becomes very difficult.
Mhm. All right, three things from what you just said. One was if you could give some ways that you trained to improve your communication and improve your ability to sell people's value back to them, that would be really helpful. If you could remember how you trained in school, or what some of the experiences were that helped you become a better communicator and seller. And then also, when you're seeing people 30, 60, 90 visits over the course of weeks, months, and years, obviously you have the ability to continue practicing your relationship building with them, your communication with them, and your selling of their value back to them. I'm curious if you could kind of just reflect on how you trained, and then also how you apply these skills over the course of a relationship with an individual, maybe a couple different examples there.
Well, number one, let's just be clear. When I was in chiropractic school 20 some years ago, I was clueless. So, I did not really, that was not something that was brought on my radar. And I'm not holding any bitterness or anything like that, but I'm just telling you that, if I had to start all over again, and this is what I tell my daughter, it's like, hey, you got to learn this right now, because this is going to serve you early on in practice, and it's going to save you from a lot of, heartache of like being mad when a person is not following through with care or your recommendation or what you believe is best for them, right? I tell people all the time that, if you're watching this right now and your main purpose in life is you just want to make money, I always tell people, I'm like, well, you're not in the right business if that's all you're looking for. You can make money in a lot of different business, just go into a money business. If your heart is not into helping people first and foremost, you should not become a chiropractor. However, if your heart is into helping people and changing the world and changing, the people that are in front of you, is you got to be able to communicate to them. So, on my journey over those past 20 some years, and still to this day, number one is I've been part of a lot of different group of people that their expertise was in communication. One of them, if I was to, give you some name out there, his name is Roberto Monaco. And, Roberto has been a great mentor to me. Roberto has been with Tony Robbins for, 7, 8 years of his life, was the number one salesperson for Tony Robbins. And I guess if you don't know Tony Robbins, you should go look him up. But there's great things that you can learn from him. But Roberto has been a great mentor. This is what he teaches to, all over the country and all over the world, to chiropractors and other professionals, how you can communicate your message more effectively, and how you can get people to understand what you do, and how you can create value for what you do and what you believe to be true. So, as of late for me on this journey, the past, 10, 12 years, my focus has really been into communication, into, working on that and then translating that into the office with our team, because it's not just the doctor, it's like every one of us. How can we communicate better? How we can love people where they're at? How we can understand them when they come in, that when they're in pain, um, you know, to take them from point A all the way through point Z, and knowing how to do that in a way where you know what's you know what you have the communication skills to be able to take people through the process every single time, and you can do that with ease. So on a weekly basis now at our office, as a matter of fact, this is going to happen in about 30 minutes from now. Our entire team, the doctors and the front desk and the back office, we meet on a weekly basis, and that's what we train on. Communication on when the patient comes in on day one, the communication when they come in on day two, and looking at every single person, they're all different. They all have a different story. So going from getting some professional training, and then if you have the opportunity to take some public speaking courses, being around people that, the number one fear, as everybody knows, is that I speak in front of people. But just imagine that, this fear about speaking in front of people, you have to take the spotlight off of you and turn it, what are people going to be missing if you don't give them your message? And we have such a great message in chiropractic of like, we have the potential to save people's lives, but if we don't share that message with them, they never going to get the chance to even know that there's a possibility. So you truly have to get over yourself, that yes, you are a doctor, but if it's all on the inside of you and you can't just get it out, that it's going to be hard for you to save some people's lives, because they're not going to know about all the great things that you have for them. So being dedicated to do something that it might not be comfortable for you initially, but the more that you do it, the more that if you love speaking gonna love you. And you have to be able to have a love for speaking and a love from communicating one-on-one, one to many, and to be able to change lives in ways that lives have never been changed before. And to understand what this game is about is to get your message out there to, we know today with social media, with video marketing, with all of those things, that being able to communicate and share your message out there. We have a recording studio at our office that, on a weekly basis, we just got to get some content out. We just got to communicate our message. We got to tell people what we do and why we do it. We got to be able to reach people that just, otherwise they would not know. Right. So from the professional training, that my focus was not really on that when I was in school, but then understanding how important that is, and then falling in love with it, even though at times it could be scary. And then to develop some courses and classes and, education process, once you get in practice, to be able to reach out to people and to be able to perfect your craft. You could be great at taking care of people and changing people's spine and changing, doing what you do technically in your office. But if you cannot communicate the message, then we're not going to be able to get to really to where we want to be, because we've missed the part of creating value for what you have. So then we're circling back again to this communication thing and how you can do that effectively, one on many or one on one, and to be able to do that to a level where we're going to be able to change the lives of, of many through the course of a career, and understanding how important that is. And, this has really become, a focus of mine of like, how can we do this better? And, it's really to the advantage of, both parties. Because I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, I said, I don't do business with people. You have to win. I need to win. God needs to win. We all need to win. Right. And winning is to get the person to be where they need to be in terms of giving them their God-given ability, to understand, to have the greatest life possible, and to just go even above and beyond what they thought would be possible for themselves. Right. And that's truly what we're all about and what's important to me.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you so much. I appreciate you really just being transparent about your intention and your mindset and opening your heart to people, and also you've obviously changed a lot of lives. Can you maybe just tease out some details about Roberto Monaco's program? He is coming on here next week to kind of go into deeper detail, but I now look at you as somebody who's been through some of the work that he offers, and I'm just curious what types of communication training uh, is required for somebody to develop a professional level ability to connect with another person through voice and also verbal and nonverbal communication. I'm just curious how you would describe what it looks like to build those skills of being a better teacher, being a better listener, being a better questioner. Just curious.
Well, number one is you guys will get to experience Roberto. Roberto is just an amazing human being, first and foremost. And Roberto knows more about chiropractic than probably 90% of the chiropractor, which is truly amazing to me. I've had a relationship with Roberto on many different levels, as a friend, as a mentor, as a coach. And talking about somebody who's all in, Roberto is truly all in. And his expertise is into, you know, professional public speaking skills that he has, all the tools he has, a membership site where you can be trained to do all of those things. And you can do that at a lot of different levels. He's got a course. It's called the IFF, Influencing from the Front. It's a 3-day course, which is truly amazing, about public speaking, that he takes through the entire process, right from learning how to tell your own story, to become a storyteller, to do some public speaking. Matter of fact, on the 3rd day, you have to deliver your own speech. It's about 15 minutes or so. And to take you through the process of every single step, to be able to do that and to be able to do that well, and to be able to have a method behind your madness, so to speak, of like, hey, there's a way that this should be done in order to influence and touch people's lives. And that's really where Roberto has a gift to be able to do that. So the class, number one. Number two, he's got a site where you have trainings on, every aspect of a practice, from how you set up a recording studio, how do you do video marketing, how do you do classes, how do you, get gigs, speaking gigs in other places, which question do you ask? So the information that he has is like mind blowing. And that's just who Roberto is. He's going to give you way more than what you paid for, that's for sure. And then the other thing that really has impacted me in terms of communication is this thing called Bank. If I don't know if anybody's ever, heard of it, but if you go on this website, it's called, crackmycode.com, crackmycode.com. And you can go there and you can there's 4 cards, and it will, we do this in our office with every person that comes in, and we give them those 4 cards. And those cards, we just have them put them in order of priority of what's most like them to least like them. And they're all values. And within 90 seconds, you can crack the person codes. You can crack their code on who they are. And you can speak in terms of their values of what's important to them. And this person that developed this, this process, this personality to be able to know about yourself and know about others, her name is Sherry Tree. And this lady spent her entire life. She committed her life, dedicated her life. She was in real estate, initially. And her goal was to develop a system where she could get more yeses. She could get more sales. That's how it was developed initially. But then what she realized is this is applying to every single communication that you have, from talking to your spouse, talking to your kids, talking to your friends, and then talking to your patient of like in terms of their values of what's important to them. So this really has been a breakthrough in our office to be able to use that to help people to understand who they are, to connect with them better one-on-one, and to be able to do a better job, again, to become a communication masters, and to be able to elevate ourselves, to be able to do this in a ways like it's never been done before. And you don't have to struggle through those communication. You just understand that, it's easy to connect with people that are just like you. But when you have a person that is completely different than you, how do you connect with that person? How do you learn to do that? And there's ways that you can learn to do that when you understand, how people buy, how people have values, and communicating in terms of their values. If you, Ben, right now were to start speaking French to me, I would be impressed. because, I'd be like, this guy is just amazing. When you can learn to speak to another person into their code of like what's important to them and what their values are, then it's just become a game changer, because they're like, this person in front of you, they're like, hey, they get me. So those two things for me as of late that have created the greatest impact in our office, for me personally, for me with my family, for me with the patient, for the other team member. And here is this thing it's called Bank. You can go on this website. It's called Crack My Code, crackmycode.com. And, then you can see who you are, but you can also learn about who the other people are. There's a lot of personality type assessment out there, and they're all about yourself, which is great to know about yourself. But how would you like to know what's the person in front of you, and how do they communicate, how they receive communication, and how they can understand what you're trying to communicate to them? So again, just to, between Roberto and this, for me as of late, for the past 7-10 years, it's been truly a game changer to be able to do this with ease, to be able to do it better, to be able to do it more efficiently, and to be able to have some breakthrough in terms of like understanding that people need to have this information. People need to know what we do and it doesn't matter which field that you're in. If you can't communicate with people, you're not going to go anywhere, and you're going to have the greatest message, the greatest product, the greatest ideas. But if you cannot communicate them, you're not going to be able to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm. And if we were given a learning activity to help students gain more experience in engaging with both of these skill sets, would you say that they should try doing the Crack My Code on some of their friends or some of their family members, and then practicing speaking to those insights that they gain about their friends or family members or peers in their classrooms? Just practice having a conversation with them with kind of the intention to speak to those specific values. How would you recommend they practice in the beginning here?
Yeah, interestingly enough, if you really want to do this, and if you want to have more information, if you go on to crackmycode.com, if you / and you put my name, Jean-Guy, right? Jean-Guy, it's all in small cap, JEANGUI. I will receive another report that show me how I should be communicating with you. So any one of your viewers right now, if they do that, crackmycode.com / they put my name, Jean-Guy, all in small, there's no capital, all in one word. I can send them the report of how you communicate with people. It's called a sales report, but to me, you can cross the word sales, just put the word communication, because that's really what that is. And then you can start practicing with people in terms of like, what's their language and how do they receive the information, for them, where they can comprehend the information and how it makes sense to them. So, to circle back to your question, the answer is yes, is you have to go out there and just do it, because you can have like all this stuff in your mind, but if you don't practice it, if you don't apply it, and if you don't see the beauty in it, it's much more exciting when you see people that once they crack their code, they read about themselves. And if they've never done that before, they're in awe. Number one, they're like, yeah, that's me. And then when you start having another person that they're completely different than you, understanding their world from a different lenses, it makes your life so much easier, into your relationship, into the people that are around you. And it becomes truly a game changer for everything in your life. Because, when I learn about Bank, the intent initially is like, hey, I'm thinking myself, I'm like, this is going to help us with our patient. But then I realize this is helping us between, our team members. This is helping us with, the patient. It's helping me with my children. It's helping me with my every single communication I have in my life with everybody around me. Right. And then you combine this with being able to speak one to many, with what Roberto is teaching, and having this understanding of, better of communication and all those, different example of your life and all different areas of your life. Because there's this thing in life called human beings, and every person is different. And that's really the beauty of being able to help people and change their life. But you can only do that if you can speak their language. I always give the example, Ben, that you can ask a person, are you tired? And then the person are like, no, I'm not tired, I'm fatigued. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is the same. But for them, it's not the same, right? If you can't use the word that they gave you because that's how they can relate to it, you're not communicating with them because they will not understand.
As somebody who's passionate about CBP, which is very, I want to say, analytical, and also it requires you to take measurements before and take measurements after and have real conversations with people, I'm curious how you keep track of the communication and the values that you've been able to clarify for the people that you work with so that, if you're working with a lot of people, and you can't necessarily remember, do you have like a file with like, hey, these are their values, this is their spine, these are the measurements that we've taken of their spine, this is what they're coming up on in this phase of their care, just like how do you juggle it all? And then if that question is a little too convoluted, I'm just curious how you see yourself as an entrepreneur, because just to give you a little back information, the way I'm contextualizing becoming a chiropractor is you're becoming, I split innate into inner state, and you're developing your inner scientist, thinker, artist, teacher, and entrepreneur. And you mentioning crackmycode.com / your name leads me to believe that you have an interest in other things that might not be adjusting somebody's subluxations because you've identified where they're at through a CBP framework, but you're also doing other things to help people lead better lives. I saw that there's potentially fasting that you teach, or other elements that are crucial to a person's well-being, but that you see you can actually create a completely different service or offering to your community. Sorry if I jumped around there, but just the entrepreneur piece, and then also how are you maintaining this relationship in a way where it's progressive and you're staying connected to what's important to people?
Well, there's a lot of things that are important to people. However, you need to be staying true to yourself, right? I do believe that God's called me to, my expertise is in health and wellness. I am a chiropractor by training, but I also have a strong interest in nutrition because I believe nutrition plays a big part of a person's health and wellness. I believe into, spiritual health, mindset, your health with your thinking. A person can create sickness with how they think. So I truly have like I have a love for health and wellness, and that's the reason why I teach classes in nutrition. I teach classes about different topics, and I've always done that, especially for the past 10, 15 years, because this is what I feel like I'm being called to do. So I want to circle back here to your question about in CBP, how do we keep measurement and how do we keep all of this? It's pretty simple. I mean, back in the days, it was a bit more complicated because we didn't have the tools to do that. But now we have software that has algorithm that does all of that for us. So it's really like in a matter of minutes, you can get all this information. You can compare it before and after. So it's really not a big thing for us to be able to, follow up with people and to be able to see their progress or their lack of progress. I'm a firm believer that people should be engaged into. We want to teach them how to catch their own fish. Uh, People should be educated. There's a part of it that we do in the office. There's a part they should be doing on their own, and then we should be continuously pour into them because that's one of my goal. That's one of my objective is for transformation. You don't transform by just giving information. You transform by people taking action. People take action by being educated, and then for them to say, what's my next step? And what is my next step? As it relates to your health, it's never going to be done. It's a journey. So this is where my beliefs are. I believe that God's called me to do what I do now, which is between my expertise in chiropractic and nutrition, to be able to educate people, to continue to pour into them, to be able to elevate them to a new level that they've never been before. And they have to make that choice. When it comes down to your health, you have the ability to do whatever you want, but just imagine for a minute that you don't do anything about the problems you have right now, and you just wait for another 6 months, a year, 2 years. It's likely you're going to be worse. But, right, you have the ability to make a change today. So this is what I teach people. You have the ability to make a change today. That's the reason why we want them to come into our, to our other seminars that we do, our wellness seminar that we do on a monthly basis, that we do that at, both of our offices, that we have classes that we do that are more in depth so people can understand better and they can continue on their journey, and we can continue to stimulate them for them to be engaged into this process, because ultimately, who's responsible for your health, right? You are. Every one of us are. So when you're talking about the entrepreneur part of me, is I'm a chiropractor by training. However, we have two offices right now. I have multiple doctors working in our office. We have nutritionists, we have massage therapists, we have holistic doctor, we have counselors. Looking at the person as a whole. So when people do this, crack my code, .com and / Jean Guy, I mean, the reason why I have, people do that if they want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I'm just saying that, for me to have a deep understanding of like how you can move people, especially as it relates to health, and to be able to have a connection with people. I think that for the past 3 years with COVID, it's been, staying at your house and having the fear of dying. It's not a good place to be. And I definitely don't want to put fear in people. I want to empower them. This is one of our, this is one of our core values, to empower people, is to transform people, is to build a community, is to make a change in their life forever. So with this being said, I do have different interests, but my heart and soul is into health and wellness. And this is where all my mites on a daily basis go into for our team, for the people that come to our office, because I think that those things are important. If you want to be healthy, you got to move well, eat well, think well. And then how can we address all that? According to the World Health Organization, health is when you have 100% functioning of your body. And then it goes on to say physically, mentally, socially, and spiritually, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. So what that means is, whether you have symptoms or not, it doesn't mean a person is healthy or not, right? And then there's all different areas of a person's that you can work into. You don't have to be the expert of all those things, but you have to understand them so you know how you can lead people to different places to truly seek true health, right? I ask people all the time, I'm like, well, do you think that a person is healthier if they take more medication or less medication? For some reason, never had anybody in 20-some years telling me, I'm healthier when I take more meds. I'm like, okay, so we're having a good start, right? And then after that, it's like, okay, so our goal here is, if you were truly healthy, would you have to take any medication? Obviously, the answer is no. And then after that, it's like, okay, well, let's say you don't take any medication, then there's other level of health. If you would really want to have true health and experience, a life of being like to your best, right? All of those areas. How long should you work out for? Forever. How long should you be eating good food for? Forever. How long should you have a good nervous system for? Forever, right? So we want to teach those things to people, because I do believe that you want to be the best that you can be until the last day, whenever that's going to be for you, right? Mm-hmm. Who wants to be at a nursing home the remaining 10 years of their life and drooling all over themselves, and they don't know who's in front of them? Nobody, right? I mean, really, when you think about it, it's like nobody. So if it's the case, then how about if we just make different choices in order to make sure that it doesn't happen, right? This is really where I'm at, where my heart is with the people that we have and our team that we have to educate people on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, I want to wrap it up just because I want to honor your time. Can you kind of share what your vision is when you think of longer term? Just the world's changing rapidly, and also now you have kids who are chiropractors, and you're still pretty young, but nevertheless, you're at a place now where you have perspective of 25, 30 years from the past, and you can maybe see 25, 30 years into the future. I'm just curious where you're at with your vision these days.
Well, this might sound cliche, but I guess I'm going to say it. I think it's the greatest time to it's the greatest time to be a chiropractor. It's the greatest time to be the person that God's called you to be. If it's to be a chiropractor, I think you should be a chiropractor, and you should have no fear to just, And I want everybody here to hear me that, there's not a shortage of sick people. That's the bottom line. People are not getting healthier right now because people don't understand what health is. And if we don't do it as chiropractors, which there's very few people in this world, there's very few people in this country that want to take the time to truly teach people about true health. So if it's on your heart and you're being called to do that, you shouldn't be afraid to do it. You shouldn't be worried about like, is there still going to be like enough? There's not enough chiropractors. There's not enough that, people that wants to teach the world and change people's lives. Right. So I think it's the best time ever, right, to be involved and to have this understanding that there's no shortage of people that need help. So if your heart is into helping people and make a difference in the world, that this can be like an amazing career for the rest of your life, that you're never going to work a day of your life. Because matter of fact, I haven't worked a day of my life yet. And the reason for that is because, I know that people are sick and dying and they need some help. So we want to be all in for them, and just understanding that every day you get up, it's a new day, a new opportunity to change people's lives. And knowing that the message that I have in my office is true, and it's always going to be true. How many people can say that? There's not many people that can say that. The message is always going to be true because it doesn't change. The foundation is so strong, there's nothing that's going to shake that. So if you're listening to that and, you're being called to be a chiropractor, I'm like, you need to go for it. It doesn't matter. Whatever needs to be done, you just do it. Because you're going to have a life that's going to be just amazing, so rewarding, of being able to change people's lives every day, and knowing that the foundation that you're standing on is true and it's never going to change. Right? So this is what's amazing to me. And that's the reason why, if you're watching this, I want to encourage you to just know that, hey, you know what? If this is for you, you need to go for it. Just don't worry about how it's going to be done. God's going to find a way to get you through it.